Hey everyone, today we're going to be going over the top 16 items we recommend you keep in your home emergency kit, our bug out bag. Stick with us until the end to see our special bonus item we recommend as well. My name is Andrew with STHF Honey Badger, and we'll be jumping into it with our first item on the list today, which is food. When an emergency hits, you want to be able to sustain yourself. Ensuring that you have several days of non-perishable food packed away in your personal emergency kit is a great way to do so. Having non-perishable items in this kit will help you last for several days. Setting aside items like soups, chilies, beans, and freeze-dried foods are great examples. Some items like that here we have right on the counter in front of us. So you can see cans of beans, cans of chili. These are relatively small size, but are going to be able to sustain you relatively well compared to some other items out there. You also have, again, freeze-dried food, which it's a little pricey, but these are great items to have, especially if you're using a bug-out bag because they don't take up a lot of space and they don't weigh a lot. Number 2 on our list is going to be water. What is a vital element for human survival? The average human being needs about 1 gallon of water a day to survive, so make sure you have several days worth of water to keep on hand. Nalgene bottles, Camelbacks, and bottled waters are great items to put into your kit so long as you rotate them out on a regular basis. Like water bottle here, for example, can last several years if stored under the right conditions. In reality, though, this is an item, if possible, you're going to want to typically rotate out, from what I've seen, usually about every 6 months or so. Number 3 on our list is lighters and matches. Fire is a basic need that we often take for granted. Packing away a lighter and some waterproof matches will make it significantly easier to start a fire to keep you warm or to cook food. With how small these items are and how light they are, you should definitely have at least 2 or 3 of these in your kit. A great bonus to include in these would be some fire starters such as a couple of cotton balls soaked in petroleum jelly. Those work great for starting fires. Just keep them sealed up in a bag, and when the time's right, toss them in the middle of your fire when you have it ready to go. And then take an item like these lighters, matches, extended lighters if you have one of those, and just use them to light that cotton ball up and it'll go up in a blaze. The 4th item we recommend is having water purification in your kit. As human beings, we can't survive long without water. Even though we will already have water in our kit like what we talked about earlier, having a way to purify more water will increase your chances of survival in most situations significantly. Those types of items you can use for water purification can be simple items like water purification straws, GeoPress bottles if you're wanting to spend a little bit more money, or iodine tablets also work as well. Just make sure whatever method you choose is reliable and a method that you're comfortable using, and add that into your kit. Number 5 is going to be physical maps. A physical map of your local area is a great asset to have when shit hits the fan. During many situations, getting phone service to access maps is not always going to be feasible. Having that physical map you can rely on to navigate will aid you significantly when maneuvering through unfamiliar streets and plotting past to avoid areas you normally wouldn't take if for some reason areas you normally do are impassable. One of the best ways to get local maps is to actually just print them off from Google Maps. There's an option on the program that will actually allow you to print them off. You just have to right-click when you have the map you want printed on the screen. Once you have these maps printed off, what I would recommend is sealing them into a binder paper holder or sealing them into a plastic bag. Example like this here. This isn't going to completely waterproof it, but this will make it a lot more water resistant. And it also gives you the ability, if you have dry erase markers, to actually write on top of these binder covers and then just wipe it off when you're done if you're trying to plot maps or show out specific objects for people. Number 6 on our list is going to be physical photographs. You want physical photographs of anyone you plan on being with or anyone that you're responsible for. This could be friends, family, even potentially pets in some cases. These photos will greatly assist you when speaking to others if you're trying to get help locating someone you're separated from, and it's going to be significantly easier than trying to give them a description, and it's going to be even easier than trying to navigate through a smartphone, which at that point may or may not be working depending on power or other factors going on. Printing these photographs out on a full-size sheet of paper, if possible, is going to be your best option, kind of like what we have right here. And if possible as well, seal them up the same way we do as our maps to help keep them water resistant. Another thing as well, when you seal stuff up with that, remember you have 2 sides. So if you have, for example, 2 or 3 photographs, use both sides. You don't have to have each one of these in a separate little item right here. Number 7 that we want to touch on, and the 7th item on our list, is going to be flashlights and batteries. When was the last time you used an actual flashlight? If you're like most of us, it's probably been a while if you don't even remember it all. And that's okay, but that's something we want you to change. You don't need a pricey flashlight. and you don't need something that's going to be rechargeable. Just get a good quality flashlight that accepts standard batteries. So typically either your AA's or AAA's are the most common, and those are going to be fairly easy to find even in emergency situations. And make sure you buy one that has multiple brightnesses. So if you need to throw out light to a further distance, so for example, scanning a tree line, a couple hundred feet away, you're going to be able to do so. But make sure it also has those lower brightness levels on it. So if you need to just illuminate something right in front of you, or you need to just illuminate a room, you're going to be able to do that without blinding yourself. Also, having those lower modes on a flashlight when you pick one out, it's going to prevent you from going through so much batteries. So it's going to help you conserve those batteries as well. So those are features we would recommend. Number 8 on our list is going to be duct tape. Do I really need to say anything more than that? Nearly anything you need to fix or patch up can be done, at least temporarily, with some duct tape. The biggest thing you need to keep in mind with this is that you should definitely be buying the name brand duct tapes, or Gorilla Tape, for example. Buy that and put it in your kit. Don't skip out on this item, as those cheaper brands of duct tape, those knockoff brands, they don't adhere anywhere near as well, and they're nowhere near as tough to hold up, especially if you're using that to patch up things in a pinch like boots or a backpack. Number 9 would be large contractor bags. These are going to be those typically, large 50-gallon or so trash bags you see at the hardware store. These contractor bags are kind of like a Swiss Army knife. They don't work great at any one thing, except holding trash, of course, but they can be used for a ton of things in a pinch. Bags like these can be used to cover up broken windows. They can be used to even temporarily patch holes in a roof, create makeshift shelters. You can use them as a rain poncho or a pack cover. You can even use it if you have to help carry extra supplies or to carry items that you pick up. And you can obviously use them to dispose of trash and human waste. Number 10 is a camping stove and fuel. Having a way to cook food that doesn't involve having to start a full-blown fire, it's a major convenience, and it opens up a lot of options significantly on what you can have to eat. A backpacking stove in particular is an affordable and easy option to carry and keep in your kit while still providing you with plenty of heat to cook up your meals or boil water. Good example is this guy right here. This is just a little Primus pocket stove. These work great in combination with just a little Jetboil fuel can. These probably come in weighing, I would guess, pound and a half. So it's really easy to throw in a pack or throw in a kit. These will last for years, if not decades, as long as you're not in a really humid environment stored in a kit. And when you need it, you just screw it in, use your lighter to light this up, and you are good to go if you're starting to boil water or cook some soup, food, or anything else you have. Number 11 is going to be pots and utensils. We're going to want to cook on our stove or over a fire, and you want to pick up a small pot and some utensils to do that. There are plenty of products out there that work great and come at relatively cheap price points. Good example is this option from Stanley. These barely take up any weight. So again, they weigh about the same as our stove and our fuel over here. Come in pound and a half-ish. And they're going to give you a lot of capability to boil water and cook your food. Number 12 is going to be a knife or a multi-tool or even a small toolkit potentially. Depending on your kit, may vary a little bit on what exactly you want, but having one of these or a couple different options is going to be useful. When picking out a knife or a multi-tool, you're going to want to avoid the cheaper options, especially folding knives or survival knives, as they tend to fall apart with minimal use and often come out of the package with a dull blade. Personally, I prefer a mid to high quality folding knife, as they are easy to carry and store away, and they tend to hold up well to all but honestly the worst abuse. As long as you're not trying to use your knife to, hammer in tent stakes, you're not trying to use your knife to chop down a tree, it's going to work well. I've had folding knives I've personally carried for years and used them for prying, use them as kind of a de facto screwdriver, and they tend to hold up fine for me. I would just make sure you put it to some use if you pick one out and make sure it's actually going to hold up under some pressure. Number 13 is a first aid kit or CPR mask. Well, actually both. When disaster strikes, even the smallest cuts can lead to a life-ending infection. Having a first aid kit containing bandages and antiseptic equipment and using it to treat small cuts and scratches that will inevitably happen will greatly curtail the chances of any infection in an STHF situation. Useful item for them to carry as well with that first aid kit is a CPR mask. These masks have a one-way valve allowing you to provide a rescue breath to a downed person while still protecting you from backwash, for example, if they tend to vomit or something like that while giving resuscitations or life breaths. 14 is going to be hygiene. Soap, feminine products, hand sanitizer, those are all going to be examples of hygiene that you want to consider. Keeping clean isn't just a luxury, but it's a requirement to keep healthy, and it's also a great morale booster in extended situations. Including those hygiene items in your kits, like what we just talked about, are going to really be beneficial. Toothpaste and toothbrushes as well are another option you want to consider when it comes to that, as keeping your teeth healthy, especially if it's a prolonged situation, could be important for you. Also, for women, we do want to mention you probably need to think about feminine products and what you would need in those instances. Number 15 is going to be cash and precious metals. Just because a disaster struck doesn't mean that we're in a full-out societal collapse ruled by anarchy. In most disasters, there will still be some form of government in existence, and having cash to prove beneficial in a time of disaster. That cash most likely is going to be usable at many places during a disaster, and you can use that to still purchase goods and supplies. If you do happen to have small amounts of precious metal, those also could come in handy as well in places where they may not be so willing to accept cash if we're dealing with a longer term situation. Our number 16 item on our list is going to be an emergency blanket, like this guy right here. Emergency blankets are relatively light and versatile little blankets that are easy to carry, store away, and at the same time can be relatively useful. These blankets work by reflecting your body heat back towards you and are a great item to carry, especially in colder climates, and they take up almost little space. These are also a great item to use in combination with a poncho or use with a trash bag even, like what we talked about earlier, to help make a makeshift shelter and keep yourself warmer in colder conditions. And our bonus item that we were talking about earlier is going to be a deck of cards. Now, why is it a deck of cards that's our bonus item? When you're dealing with tough situations, morale is an important factor you need to consider. Never underestimate how much a small item like that can have an impact on keeping you going. What do you think about our list? Did we miss anything? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for tuning in.